Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. And it's on like Donkey Kong. We are going to have fun today. This is one of those episodes. And my guest is very cool and very weird. She is self-described as anything but vanilla, a little weird. But, honestly, that's where the magic comes from. That's where the creativity comes from. And she is also surrounded by artifacts of another time and another civilization. And yes, and she will be using those artifacts today. But let's not just talk about that. She's also a marketing consultant to the stars, fractional CMO, and her superpower, if you didn't know, is that she turns problems into successes. And so we're going to talk about some of those as well. Founder of Actionable Marketing, a Facebook group, and president of Jessie Coan Marketing, Jessie Coan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Casey, for having me.
Well,
That was like the greatest intro of my life.
I know. You know what you got to do is you get a little clip of that, and then you make it your wake up ringtone on your phone when you wake up in the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessie Coan, come on down.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to send it to my brother's a video editor. So I'm going to send it to him. He did a little animation of my logo. I'm like, scrap that work. This is what I want you to put in. We're going to have lights flashing, the whole thing.
Yeah. Stop all the productive projects you're doing. I've got a new one for you. Mm-hmm. Here it is.
Here we go. I'm your sister. Number one priority.
This is critical. Yeah. Priority one. Let's go. Stat. I need it by tomorrow. 24-hour turnaround. Right? Well, look, we got you here. I'm so stoked to chat with you. I know you leave nothing on the table. You're ready to smash stuff. So let me pass you my thing and you can go ahead and pick up your thing. This show is all about smashing marketing myths. So here we go. Here you go. This is Thor's hammer.
Should I grab mine?
Pick up your Persian mace. What is
my
that?
Persian mace. All right. So the short story about his name is Myron. I don't know what his real name is, but this is what we named him. I love Brimfield. For those of you who are listening or watching or whatever, it's at Brimfield Antique Fair. It's one of the biggest antique fairs in the country. I've been gone the past few years. I saw him on a table. He cost me like nothing. The guy knew nothing about him. He's very pretty. He's got a lot of inlay and detail, and he's got this funny little face on him.
He does.
Isn't he? He's
got horns. So I'm looking at like a stick with a thing on the end that you're smashing.
Like a little devil.
With. And it is like devil horns and this face that says, "I don't care. I'm going to smash you."
Yeah. And so I did a ton of research on him. He's actually an Indo-Persian ceremonial mace from the 1800s, I believe, or 1600s. Jeez. Shoot, I should have looked it up. But yeah, so he hangs out my house. My husband is not a fan, but we're buddies. He hangs out my room.
And you know what? Let's tap. Here you go. Tools. There you go. Cheers. All right. Take that mace and smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
So my biggest myth is when I guess it's my biggest smashing is brands who are not authentic. So, and transparent. Just be yourselves, admit when you make mistakes, be upfront with it. Of course, I don't have an example off the top of my head. That's the first time that's ever happened. I'll give you a great example of who I think of somebody who did this really, really well.
Yes.
Let's talk about Corona beer for a minute.
Okay.
When all of this Corona business happened, and
That's
we
true.
won't go into that, Corona beer did not come out and say anything. They didn't post a statement. They didn't take advantage of this. But, a month or two later, they put out a really, really nice message and a really nice that says, look, we're making donations to help solve this problem. It could have been a really, really disaster of a situation, and they just did it really well, I thought, authentically.
Yeah. Somehow we've separated that in our minds, right? They're not.
Yeah.
They're not.
How bad could that have gone?
Oh, yeah.
We didn't do it right.
That's what I was wondering about. Is that going to just make people go ew, I don't want to drink germ juice, but it's not. Everyone knows it's the fucking beach and you want to go to the beach,
Totally. They handled it super well. Another one that I think handled it well that I remember, again, this is back in March, is Angel Soft toilet paper.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna go there real early. So remember we had toilet paper shortages? I'm sure all of you have a couple
Yeah.
of rolls and you would normally buy in your
Yeah,
house.
yeah. I bought these like bulk industrial rolls. They don't
Yeah,
fit on the rung, right? Because they're the big ones that you get. I was like, I just got to make sure I got some.
you could have something.
Yeah.
So Angel Soft did an amazing job with an advertisement that came out that really showcased that they care. Here's how we're taking
Really?
care of our audience. Here's how we're taking care of you, you know, and here's how we're taking care of our people. I just remember distinctly, you know what? I'm a Scott Sharman household usually, but
Yeah.
if Angel Soft is there, you know, I'm going to buy it because I'm going to support kind of what they were saying and how they were showcasing, like they were showing their workers, they're saying, look, we're here for you. Like they just came out with a really nice message on how to handle it. So the
Hmm.
authenticity behind that was, which I thought was great. I mean, for me, it's, I know we're talking about a lot of B2C brands at the moment, but B2B brands too, like trying to figure out how to pivot in this environment, trying to figure out how to be transparent and take care of their employees and understand that this stuff is hard. You
Yeah.
know, you know, a lot of the messaging that you're hearing is and seeing and listening is like, oh, now people have time to enjoy other things in their lives. I'm like,
Right.
time? Are you on freaking crack? Like, imagine, like I'm not a parent, but I have many people in my lives who are, and they have so much less time. There's no
Yes.
daycare, there's nobody at school. They're
True.
trying to figure that out. Like, imagine being a teacher and your kid doesn't go to the same school you go to. There's no time. So,
Mhm.
you know, like people who are saying that, well, now you have more time for self care. Like, of course, I can't think of any beauty brands right now, but I know I've seen it recently. Like, there's no more time. Like, you're crazy. Make it easy. Make it easy for me. Be authentic and say, look, take 5 minutes for you while you're watching TV in the evening or you're cooking dinner. Put a face mask on or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
just like be creative and be aware and astute to what's going on in the world. All right,
Right.
that was a little mini soapbox for you there for a minute.
No, no. Get back on this. Get back up there. What do you? I know tied to the we don't remember the people who have been authentic because I think we like blur them from our minds like they're being just deleted because we can't stand it, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was reading Ad Age actually this morning,
Mm,
just kind of to see what's going on, whether I don't watch a lot of live TV. So even thinking about how advertisers have to get more creative, although I
yeah.
do watch Jeopardy every night because I'm a crazy person and
Still.
yeah, I'm like
Jeopardy, I mean, it's a classic. There's a reason it's still on,
it's
you know?
awesome. And they're playing old episodes and they're so much harder. Like even the ones from the late 90s and the early 2000s, I'm like, I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah. The ones in the 80s I did better at.
So they've gotten easier in the 90s and 2000s?
No, they're harder back then. They're easier now. So
Yeah.
like you know, I know the answers for the ones now, but in like
Really?
that time period, I must have been a teenager and just not caring about the world because it was the late 90s and, you know, teenage angst. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but
I
they were way
remember
harder.
listening, like, with grandparents and everything, and it was a tradition. Hey, pour that drink and sit down. And this is her ritual. My grandmother was a ritual to sit down and watch Jeopardy. You can be playing your Nintendo games before that and after that, but in this house, that's going off. We're gonna watch Alex Trebek, and I never could quite get all the questions even as I was growing up. But maybe that's it. Maybe we've gotten soft. Jeopardy
Well,
now is soft.
try it now because like as a kid, I didn't get anything.
Okay.
You know, that's the difference, and that's what's interesting about it. I totally lost my original train of
Well, we're
thought.
talking about ad age
Oh, we're talking about Ad Age, and
advertising.
I was looking because I just like to see. They always have some interesting, controversial articles and
Yeah.
perspectives in there. I mean, and again, especially I know I'm timing wise. Though when we're recording this yesterday, Joe Biden announced who he was running with, so all the news
True.
is around that.
Right.
Just for context. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm 2 days late. Maybe on
Right.
Monday they would have had some stuff. So, but I think people are just being really, really careful in what they say and how they say it. I think there's a
Mm.
lot of exhaustion of this, you know, this like, we're here for you, we care about you, you know, the way that people are messaging it. And it's, you know, it's also August, you know, and so I think a lot of people are on vacation. So there's a lot of that. But it's this back, I was going to ask you about this. Like, are you seeing a lot of people just back to business? You know, in our B2B world that we live in right now, and like that's what I'm seeing in a
Yeah.
lot of places. There's like a little bit of there's less chatter and more. I guess chatter isn't the right word. There's less of this like call for community. You know, call for this immediate need of networking community. I guess is the way that I'll describe that.
Hmm.
than there was that urgency. I mean, it's there because we aren't getting out, but we've transitioned and we're more comfortable with the virtual world than we may have been even last month or a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I definitely had a period of mourning where I just was like eating all the things, drinking all the things, and just being really sad because I wanted to go to events. I had like 8 trips scheduled up on Delta, right? Poor Delta. But like I had all these trips and I was excited. I was going to go to Colorado. I was going to try to get in a hike before going and eating with some cool people. And it was like, this is going to be great. So I was definitely bummed for a bit, but I think maybe it takes humans 2 months to adapt, or maybe I'm slow or fast. I don't know. But like eventually I'm kind of like, okay, this is my, and there's positives to it. Like for me, I got kids, so I spend more time with them and I don't have
Totally.
the commute. Some people have really long commutes. Mine's short anyways, but now it's zero. And I've been more healthy because I can go for a walk. And if I get crazy out and get sweaty because it's hot out, you can fix it when you come home. Whereas if you're at the office, you're like stuck that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we kind of adapted. And so yeah, in the B2B world, I you're starting to see it just be, maybe it's still a little bit more double, it's a double take on the expenditures and whatnot, but still it's people like, well, business is still going. Meanwhile, like school and all sorts of drama around like, oh, what do you do with school and kids and all. So there's all those like things around it, but at least in terms of the work front, a lot of that is, yeah, it's getting back to, which is great, which is really great to see.
Yeah. I I feel like again, my husband works in B2B, and I have obviously a lot of friends at network in the B2B world, and we're driving around because that's one thing to do is like go drive around, and I live in Metro West Massachusetts. There's a lot of office buildings, and I'm like, it's gonna happen to these buildings.
Office buildings, yeah.
We don't really like, because we're all adapting so quickly, and even like event strategies and streaming and just
Hmm.
all of these virtual things that have happened to facilitate the virtual world. We're not going to need these massive office buildings. Like,
I know.
do you, I questioning if that's like, if this is the way that it's going to be.
Right. Or if it swings back and people are like, please get me into an
Yeah.
office.
I mean,
I don't know.
I do not like working from home. Everybody who's ever worked with and for me knows that. I like being in the office. Even as a teenager, I would go
Yeah.
to the library and do my homework. In college, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I like having work and life separate. Again,
Yep.
leaving and starting my own agency is a different animal because I work out of my house. But it was a conscious decision. And so I've created spaces within my own home that are separate.
Right.
So, and I don't spend time in the workspace during the day. I do not have
Smart.
a big house for context. We just happen to have an extra living room because we're from different states and we watch sports in different rooms. I'm from Florida and
Yeah.
he's not. So, it was a conscious purchase decision when we bought the house. But, it's just interesting because I feel that like one of the big things that I'm seeing is this community change. And so like
Mm.
even Slack groups, like I'm in like 15 Slack groups. There's a different tone in those. There's a different tone when you go to networking events. It's much more normal. It's much more like, okay, we've done this before. Here's how we do it. It's much more like less this like, oh my God, I need to connect with people, to like, okay, I'm here. This is the thing. I'm connecting. What do I need? Who do I need to talk to after this event to be able to move on and get the needs that I need to get out of it? And who do I need,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's just a really interesting shift, even from when you and I are prepping for this conversation. When was that? Like 2 weeks ago? I feel like it's just completely, the
Mm.
conversation and the tone has changed a little bit.
It's definitely calmed down, right? We're less reactive. I remember one week where every group I was in had a happy hour. So pretty much every night of the week was like a happy hour. And eventually it was like, okay, too many happy hours. But I haven't joined as many. They haven't had as many lately because I think, well, one, either people are just out.
Yeah, it's
There are those
August.
people that are like out and just like, who needs a mask? Let's do this. And there's other people who are like, no, we need to stay in. And then, my family is more comfortable, just letting, like we'll do our part. We'll just kind of stay around here. And so we're staying around here. And yeah, I don't know. We've just adapted, I guess. And it is an opportunity though, because the people around me. So for me, it was like, well, I could go network with all these people and I could go meet these people, or I could spend more time with my wife. I could spend more time with my kids, like build those relationships. So it's kind of been like a shift of like, what are the priorities? And you mentioned the office buildings. I started questioning that almost immediately because my team is remote across everywhere, US and Canada. But I do have an office in New Hampshire where I just, like you, like to go in, and it has a
Mhm.
window that overlooks a pond, and it's
Mhm.
really nice. And I had that for a long time, but now I was thinking I might want to get rid of it unless they give me a really good deal, you know? And so I emailed the guy to say, what do you got? What do you got for me? Cause I'm about to ready to bounce. But apparently he's been selling a bunch of office spaces, maybe to the even bigger companies who are getting rid of their bigger space to
Oh,
buy
and
smaller
downsizing.
spaces. So at least I was hoping he'd be like, please stay, take my $1 deal. But no, it was like people have been gobbling up my little offices probably because they got rid of the big ones. So but I'll probably get rid of that. I think I'm going to get rid of it.
It'll be interesting to see, like, because like the rise of WeWork over the, and these
Yeah.
co-working spaces and people, because, but let's talk pre-COVID, pre and post-COVID,
Yeah.
the idea of these co-working spaces and networking events. And even like, when I was at Aberdeen, we had a beautiful office space. Like we had a really cool it was in outside of Boston. So there was free parking. It was easy enough to get to. And so I would host events at night, for
Hmm.
various organizations. And so even like, I think it'll be interesting to watch how businesses leverage their office spaces to benefit like employee gatherings once it's safe to get together in larger numbers, I guess would be my first thought. But even from there, like, why invest in an office space? I would much rather, like, when I plan to grow my agency, for example, and I hire somebody, let's say they're local, a writer or a designer or something,
Hmm.
don't want to get together at my house. Like, while I could, I want it to
Yeah.
there's a level of like business separation. Like I've worked in environments and I've been very lucky that I've had some great, agencies that I've worked with and other people. I've been to their houses, but
Right.
there's something a little bit like, especially now, you're so much more intimate, but like having being able to maybe rent hours of a space that have the facilities that you go and you work together to bang through a big project, or that your employees can go and check in. And if they need it, like a separate space that has the amenities. So, a different business model than WeWork potentially, maybe more cost effective. I don't know, shared space with cleaning and I don't know. Now we're coming up with a whole new, so out of my wheelhouse, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting. It's been, it leads me to my next observation that I wanted to chat with you
Yeah.
about.
What's up? What do you see?
So my next observation is these niche communities that have cropped up. So I'm just gonna go for it right now. So the other thing that I've been seeing is, because people have transitioned away from these larger events and getting people within virtual events. Well, there's a
Right.
lot of successes with those. Um, and for the communities that are attracted to those, and people are still looking to connect and blah blah blah. But these, like, a lot of these niche communities have cropped up. So people, there's a number of them, tailored towards women in technology, or women in, for me, women in sales, or women in revenue,
Yep.
or these types of, revenue, startup, incubators have always been around. But there's one that came up, of course I don't remember the name of it, but it was like Revenue Revolution or something like that. And it's for
Huh.
people who are, you have to apply to get accepted. It's a networking community for people who are VP level up, who work in revenue generating roles within organizations. I do not qualify. I don't know if you do, because
Hmm.
we work at agencies. So,
Right.
supporting staff. So it's interesting. There's a lot of like, Boston content is that's a niche community of Boston, and they've expanded, but they also, like, it's just interesting to see the rise of these like really niche, accepted, like, only you get accepted, you have to apply. um I think we're going to see more of those. I would
Yeah.
bet money on it. um Especially since we're trying to change the way that we network and we can't do these in-person events. Do you
Yeah. Well,
agree? I see you thinking
yeah.
about it. Am I crazy?
Well, you are
I
crazy,
mean,
but
I'm crazy a
I
little
am
bit, but
too. um, I is it? I guess it's like the whole, like, is it a vitamin or is it like a life-saving drug? So the idea
oh,
of,
it's a vitamin.
yeah, Yeah, right. To keep you, to make you healthier as opposed to keeping you alive. You're right. I mean, so my team being virtual everywhere doesn't have a snack bar they can go into everywhere, and it has almost been more of like a luxury for me to get out of the house, to your point. But if you can find a separate room, and everyone has the same setup, but like you have a separate place. I have this coronavirus. This is the coronavirus studio B in the coronavirus work office basement with no windows. I have like 5 lights all around me just so that I don't feel like I'm in a cave. And I still look like I'm in a cave, but either way, we sort
You
of
have a nice
adapted.
orange wall.
I do have a nice orange. Painting in primary colors is the way to
Okay.
go.
Big
But yeah,
fan.
it's a little bit of a home at home, a little bit of office at home. So I don't know. You're right. I'm not going to bring anyone to my, hey, come visit me in my basement to have a work meeting. I mean, how many
Right?
startups have done that? Like, that's creepy. I'll never do that. But you're right. Meet at a coffee shop now, I guess, instead of,
Or like a restaurant, but even those, like, they don't always have
yeah,
internet. So like I think we're gonna see a shift in these community spaces,
yeah,
in these big buildings. Like if I were a large company and there weren't people, like, why am I gonna pay for this space? I don't think work's gonna go back to the way that it was before. You're gonna have some combination of work from home, virtual
yeah,
employees. It's just easier to hire top talent to fit your needs if you go virtual. You might have like a bring everybody to one place and have an event once or twice a year type sales kickoff meeting or something. But I don't know.
It's interesting too, because like, didn't WeWork blow up? Didn't they like implode?
I don't know if they imploded. I I know there was some controversy. I know there's a bunch of other competitors that cropped up.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
expensive to run,
Mm.
to like a facility like that, because if you don't have people, you still have to pay for all the stuff,
True, true.
you
But
know,
to the earlier
bandwidth.
conversation, like, so my office is at a Regis, which is like the boring, um, cold, sterile version of WeWork. Um, sorry, Regis, but your brand's your brand.
Hey,
And so I was always excited. I kept tweeting at WeWork, come to New Hampshire, come to Nashua, please. Get me out of this office building that I'm sharing with like really some people in there are cool, but like, you know, attorneys and accountants and like, it's not the, hey, there's free beer in the lobby. We're all, coming up with new things together, and it's like hip, it's a startup land. It's
do
different,
they
right?
really do that though? Like
I,
again, I've been to
well,
a few, I have clients and and people that I partner with in those offices, and I see people working, but I see people working together because they're working together, not
right.
because you're at this company A, we're at company B, we need to solve a problem, or hosted networking events at these spaces. So I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Maybe it's the dream, but either way,
Sure. That's
maybe
like our
now's
new
the time for
company.
them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're right. I think the sort of modular approach, maybe not having a permanent office, I see, I still like getting out and connecting with people, so that would be my reason to like, I'd like to do that. But is it worth the expense, especially if they're not going down on prices, they're going up? At least mine is, but maybe if it was going down, would I stick
Well,
around? Probably.
but full if you weren't spending for full rental, so let's say it
Right.
was part, I mean, and we could dissect this all day, but let's say you're paying $100 a month, and all of a sudden if you only had to pay $100 a quarter, or $150 a quarter, you're
Yeah.
still saving money because you're having the one time, or set number of hours or something.
Right.
Anyways, it's my new business idea, don't steal
Do it. Do
it.
it.
I'm just kidding.
Do it. Please do it. I need to go somewhere.
Jessie Coan marketing workspaces.
Yeah, but you have to do some weird cool thing where it's like work dot spaces or work spa and then dot aces,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
make it
Or
futuristic.
just call it like work dot here.
Yeah. Right?
Ooh, yeah,
Ooh. Ooh.
I know.
You probably want to gobble it up in the next week,
I
2 weeks before this thing gets published. Because
I'm gonna go find that URL right now.
yeah. And I have a few things to do after this call. So you have to gobble up before I do.
Oh, there you go. Well, you
There
can
you
just
go.
start it with me. I can have a
Okay.
co-starter. We can be multi-state.
Yes. Immediately multi-state from the beginning.
There you go.
Boom.
I like it.
In a warehouse down by the river, like,
Oh my God. If I could imitate him, I would right now.
Oh, seriously, little Chris Farley.
Down by the river.
Wouldn't it be funny if you gobbled up like the worst, sketchiest commercial spaces and then turn them into working spaces? I don't know.
Oh my God. That would be the cool, like, could they be haunted working spaces dot
Yes, you
com?
call it sketchy.spaces.
Totally. Like, dude, that's a way better
Is
idea
that
because
it?
that's a hot topic right now. All of these paranormal things. Like, I
Oh.
mean, he's a big fan of that.
Well,
So,
what's the paranormal things? I know about the UFO videos, but I don't know.
oh, I mean, there's more paranormal shows on TV right now than I think there's
Is
ever
there?
been. You know, the
Jessie,
FBI released all of those videos. I
who's
mean,
that
I
saying
mean,
behind you right now? Did you, what? There's like a loud scream that the
don't.
show goes dead.
Ah!
Can't publish this episode. It's too controversial. NASA will want the footage of it.
And
Um,
that would be cool.
Crazy. Well, I want to ask you about the Slack thing because
Yeah,
I'm in a bunch of Slack channels too, or workspaces technically, and you got to have the app. You have the downloadable app, right?
of course.
Because it allows you to. In anyone listening, if you don't have the app on your phone for sure, but also on your desktop, you want to get that because you can easily click between different ones, and they show you notifications of which ones have new content. You gotta get that. But even then, I've had some people have like Slack fatigue, and then the other thing is like some Slack communities are vibrant, and some are not. And have you seen the differences? If you could you pinpoint what makes one a great place to go, and the other one's like it's like crickets.
Yeah, it's all about, I mean, it's two things, I think. It's the administration running the group
Mm,
and, encouraging the engagement of it. And it's two, I mean, it's encouraging members to engage as well. So making sure you have the right audience within the group. So again, whether it's Slack, Facebook group, LinkedIn groups are not a thing anymore, which is sad.
I know.
Forums, Reddit, any of these places that you're communicating and interacting with people, it's all about creating engaging content. And it's hard, man. Like I started my own Facebook group just because
Yeah,
yeah, I hate writing. I can edit like a mofo.
yeah.
Writing just takes me 3 times as long than somebody else. I can do it. It's not a problem. It's just, I much prefer to be on video and chit chat.
Hmm.
And so I was like, oh, I'll do a Facebook group, then I can do Facebook lives, and then I can take that content and put it on YouTube, so,
Yeah,
but like running these groups is a ton of work. And, that's why you see a lot of moderators, even and it's the same goes for the Slack channels. Like I have one, for example, for Jessie Coan Marketing, my business, and I use it just to be able to like IM chat for those of you who are old enough to remember AOL Instant Messaging. It just makes it easy. It's like one less email I have to read. And like,
yeah,
as we're working on projects, if we don't want to get on the phone, it's easy to be like, hey, can you review this? Hey, can you check this? So we
yeah,
use it from a collaboration standpoint. And I just created it under me because it was just easier because I work with so many different companies and so many different consultants and freelancers. I was like, want to be in my Slack? They don't talk to each other. I mean, they could, but that's not the purpose of it.
mm,
Versus like, some of these other Slack channels where it's like, you can post jobs, you can ask questions, you can, I've seen the ones where you're doing events and the event, rather than going to the Twitter, you're going to Slack to be able to interact and post commentary about it. It's, like what Twitter was 5, 6, 7 years ago in terms of these smaller, dedicated community events, I guess is a good way to describe it.
yeah. It's almost like when it's collaborative, it's
Mhm.
figured out because you're there and you're getting stuff done. But it's the community that's a little more challenging. How
Yeah.
do you provide value to those people?
It
Yeah.
goes back to the myth that we talked about
Hmm.
originally is the transparency of the purpose of the group. So,
Ah,
if you look at, I'll bring up, oh, my mouse is dead. I have it closed right now. I have all my notifications turned off. But like if you bring up, there's communities like Growmance or CRO Growth Hacks
wait,
or
gromance
Growmance is one. So it's for growth marketing and, sales.
and
They're
romance? Is it like bromance? But it's
Growmance,
is that a cool group? Should
GRO.
we check that one out?
Um,
Do
it's cool.
do
It's
you have some you recommend?
huge.
Oh, it's
I
huge.
like, yeah, it's huge. I mean, my favorite was started by my friend Heidi. It's called Marketing Mentors.
Oh, cool.
She runs a fantastic group. There's a lot of folks. It started off just being a Boston-based group, and then it's really expanded. She's got some great networking opportunities in there. That one's awesome. Content Marketing Leaders is a great group. That one was started by Boston Content, and then they merged with another group. That one's pretty great. Growmance, CRO, growth hackers are huge. So those are the ones that I think are good if you're looking for information, but they're so big, the community is changed. You don't
Interesting.
know
What
people
happens when they
by
get
name.
big? Because it seems like
They go
you get critical
global.
mass.
I get so many spam messages from people. Like, just like, let me read you one that I've like
Yeah.
ignored it because I can't even, I'm like, I'm good.
That's a new thing for me. I haven't gotten spammed on Slack yet. Holy
Yeah, spam on
crap.
Slack sucks. Let's see. This one is, hi, Jessie. If you're looking for some no bullshit growth tactics, I created the name of his company, a database of over 250 tactics for every step of the funnel. Trust me, you'll like it. I'm like, did you read what I do? Did you look at who I am? Like, thank you
Wow.
for sharing. But like, I didn't, there's a different way to be able to network using Slack. That's, that is a turnoff to me.
Yeah.
And it might be an interesting thing that he's providing. It might be great, but it just is such, I have like 5 or 6 of them in here.
How could you have done that better? What would have actually gotten your attention?
So instead of reaching out, it's the, again, transparency and personalization, being
Mm.
authentic. You'll see a theme with me. It's, hey, Jessie, great to meet you. I see you're in the group. Are you getting any value out of it? Tell me a little bit about your business. People love talking to them about
Yeah,
themselves,
totally.
you know, um, and I would have said, hey, great to meet you. Like, that's my biggest thing. Tell me about when people connect with me on LinkedIn that I've never met. Before I connect with them, I send them a message. Hey, I saw that you want to connect. Before we connect, tell me a little bit about yourself. Why should I connect with you?
Hmm.
It's, and a lot of people respond, and it ends up being a phone call, you know. And
Wow.
so if he had just said, hey, I run this company, it's a new thing, would love to get your opinion as somebody who understands marketing, you don't even have to stroke my ego. Just say, like, hey, as a fellow marketer, do you feel like I'm missing anything in here? And send me a link. Sure, I would have checked it out, but like, maybe he can quote me in here. It's just a subtle way to
Right.
be able to change it. But if, like, because he just said, here's the thing, I'm like, okay, I can guarantee you I probably know about maybe 200 of these things already. Like,
Right.
why am I going to look at it? What's in it for me? So that was
Yeah.
the,
And then he went like, "Trust me, you'll like it." Like, what is
yeah,
that?
sure. Okay. Trust me, you'll like it. Like, that's basically puts the nail in the coffin that
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to you.
I've been
So,
looking at like spam messages for a while. Every time I get them now, I throw them in one of my Slack communities. It's a Pardot user group
mm,
called the Pardot Life Hacks user group, and so I'm like doing a little workshop on email messages. But now every time I get spam, I can actually use it. So I like screenshot it and throw it in there. And I think I've started to see a trend tying into this, like, trust me, you like it, is when people um, they get too personal. It's like, in like Japanese culture, you have like personal and like formal, and you have like the formal greeting. If you don't know who somebody is, you're not like homies, then you
yeah,
go formal. And then when you're best friends, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can use the more casual one. It's almost like I could see that being an email. Not that I need people to write like robots, but when people say things like, trust me, you'll like it. Like, I don't know you. I do not trust you. So you saying trust me is what people say when you can't trust them.
right.
And then other people saying, like, I hope you and your family are well. Like, do you really hope I'm well? You don't even know me. Why do you hope I'm well? Like, and I know there's like general people who are just nice to everyone, but on email, I assume you're being not nice. I'm assuming you're sarcastic until you can prove otherwise. But like, to jump to like, like, oh, we connected recently and I hope you're doing well, or during these dark times, I hope you're staying safe from the sickness. It's like, I don't really believe you, honestly, you know?
Well, let me ask you a question, because I hope, I feel like I've said, I hope you and your family are doing well, but usually my notes have some sort of level of, like, I'm not writing sales emails right now.
Is it the
That's
first sentence? Do you open with that? Dear Casey, I hope you're faring
I'm
well
going to
in
send
these
all
dark
of my emails
times.
to you. We'll now have that starting
Send me an email. Yeah. Um,
I feel like I probably have, but let me put context around that. Where if it's somebody that I'm like, there's a couple of companies who are like, yes, we've wanted to work with you, but budgets have changed. Let's be in contact. So, traditional sales techniques where I'm like, okay, great. Let me set up a meeting in 3 months from now. Does that work?
yeah.
And sometimes we cancel, sometimes we meet, we check in, and we're building a relationship. And so I will
Yeah.
say, I hope you and your family are well because I know they have a family.
Right.
So
You've met
it's
them before.
yeah. I do say stay safe because I don't. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. I think I sincerely, Jessie is not my MO. Like
Yeah.
I would more likely say rock on,
Yeah.
which
Me
is
too.
too personal, I think, for depending on the level of conversation that it's not professional enough. After we've chatted once, I'll say rock on because you know me, you could hear it in my voice.
Totally.
So it's like, okay, I hope, you know, uh, I'll just say stay safe. I won't put any more context around it, just
Mm-hmm.
implying that like it implies the hope you're well. It's not sincerely or best or, but it's addressing
Yeah.
kind of what's going on. How do you feel about that? Would you react negatively to that one?
Me personally, though, I have a thing with stay safe, especially when people like you're driving and your friends are like, drive safe, or you're like, drive safe. It's like, what? As opposed to like, drive dangerously? Of course, no. So I have a personal thing with that, but I don't, there's no big deal around that for me in the marketing sense. But what I have found, though, is the people that, somebody wrote me an email saying, we talked the other week and I wanted to catch up. And that was tied in with like, hope you're well. And that was a complete lie. I've never talked to that person. Somebody I have talked to 3 months ago opened the exact same way. And I think I have talked to them, but because they look just like the other one, I, it sounded like the other one, And so half the problem is we can look or smell or sound like spam if we're not, even though we're not, And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh man, if your opening line is exactly what used car salesmen say, like even if you care, it leaves it up to interpretation. You can't put winkies and and you got to put a lot of if you put a lot of emoticons, I guess you can make up for it, but it can be kind of
I
dangerous.
don't know. That's why I use rock on.
Yeah,
So, because it's real, like it's not you're going to be pre-programmed into something. There's a
right.
woman, Charlene Ignites. She's a sales leader, sales consultant. She's awesome. I've seen her
What's your
speak.
last name?
DeCesar is her last name, but her professional branding is Charlene Ignites.
I was just that's a cool last name. She should change her last name to Ignite.
She's awesome. She's a sales advisor and speaker, but she had written a book. I'm looking for the name of it. And because I send her any I love taunting bad sales emails. Like I will email them back. I'm one of those
Me
people.
too.
I love it. So I've sent
Yes.
her a few. And she wrote a book called The Email Cemetery,
Oh,
or is
I
it The
love it.
Email Graveyard? It's awesome. It's hysterical. Of course I can't find it right now.
Email graveyard or cemetery. That's
Uh,
funny. You write back too. I do too. I think it's a marketing thing. Like,
it's because we know, do better.
do
Do
better.
better. And do not spell my name wrong.
Well, that's a data problem.
Like, no, people have typed it wrong. Like,
Oh,
if you're going to write me an email, take 2 seconds and make sure there's an I in it. I am not a boy. Even if you write Jessica, I'm fine with it. Because, just make sure there's an I.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
hard. Casey is Casey, whether you're a boy or a girl, usually,
Oh,
right?
for sure you're getting blocked if you put Cassie or something like that.
Yeah.
We're not,
So,
we can't chat. We can't be friends. Um, yeah, weird.
hmm
It's almost like I'm more critical of it because I know how hard it is, and it's like, yeah, to your point, you should have done better. Should have worked on it. One time though, I got this one, and I don't know if you saw this on LinkedIn if we were connected at the time, but it said COVID in the email, something like, I'm gonna exaggerate, but it's maybe subtract 4 from my answer 14 times, so it was like 8 or 10 times in the first 4 paragraphs, and they're like short little 3-sentence paragraphs. So
oh, I saw you post
you
this.
saw me post that? Yeah.
Yeah.
They said COVID a million times. And I'm like, what are you doing? You don't keyword stuff in email. That's so gross. But what I did, I put that on LinkedIn. I sent a link to the person who sent me that. I sent him a link to the LinkedIn post where I just railed against the post. But what's interesting is he actually hopped in there and commented. So one of the people who commented was actually the person. It was
Get out.
crazy. Yeah.
That's
And,
awesome.
and props to him because he like took it as feedback.
Mm-hmm.
He needs a lot of it, but he took
Mm.
it as feedback and he actually asked a few people questions about their feedback, but it was a little awkward because one person was like, and the grammar too. And it's like, what grammar?
Proofreading.
What part did I miss there? But it was just like, oh, talk about it. And then recently I posted about an unsubscribe I tried to do. I don't know how I need to introduce this into the company that sent it. I tried to unsubscribe. I go to an unsubscribe page, which I create all the time for clients,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like my email, and then there's a link that says opt out, and there's no submit button. I was like,
That's illegal.
well, apparently the link was the submit button. So dirty. And it didn't look like a link. It was just text.
Oh, come on, man.
I know.
That's not cool.
I
Like,
tried
just,
to I tried to friend the CMO of the company so I could do it gracefully, but
yeah.
I don't know. I feel a little bit of the rage marketer inside me wants to do something like dramatic and call them on their BS.
Well, here's another one for you. So I was doing some research for a client. We're trying to figure out, they had a very specific niche of leads, like
Okay.
market that they're trying to market to. It's an audience that I don't have a lot of experience in. So in educating myself, my normal vendors don't play in this space,
Right.
from a demand gen perspective. And coming from a place, I know quite a bit about demand gen, how that works, list management, data, all that fun stuff. So I'm calling different vendors. I got some recommendations from people. It's great. This one guy, I called him because there's no I needed a quote to put in an estimate for, the project. So, and I don't usually call, usually I'll do an email, blah, blah, blah. So I just called him and I said, hey, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to conduct the program. It's for an event that's coming up. All I need is, this is the audience. It's really wide. How do you guys do that? And so he said to me, oh, we don't do the emails. We email marketing for you. We just send you the list and you can do it. And I went, okay. So I bluntly said, well, I don't think that's legal, sir. Like, you can't just send me a list and I can't, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, I'm asking you for, I have a virtual event that I need to do marketing to. I'm not going to just take the list of names and email them because I'm going to get banned immediately. There's no
Wow.
opt-in, there's no record. I would never do that to one of my clients. And he didn't know what to say to me. And I was like, well, okay, now I'm amused because I know this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I put I said, okay, well, tell me about your process. And I don't say anything. And he said, well, why don't we do this? Why don't I give you my email address and you can email me your needs and I'll follow up to you. I was like,
What?
sure. Yep. He gave me his email. I was like, all right, sir, have a nice day. And I hung up. I was like, are you freaking for real right now? Like, how do you people do any business? My husband actually heard it. And he's like, you were mean. I was like, no, I wasn't. The guy was an idiot.
Well,
Like, number
sales
one,
101, you got someone on the phone, you don't
take my
get
information.
them
I would
off
have
the
given you
phone.
I would have given you a typo in it because I don't want to receive your materials. Although I'm super curious because I was like, I kind of wanted to see what would
Did
happen.
you follow up?
No, because I didn't follow up with him.
Oh, okay.
I'm not giving him my contact information. I mean, if he didn't ask me my name, he asked me nothing. And
Oh, he gave you his email.
he gave
Even
me his
worse.
email and his phone number and wanted me to email him for more information.
That's like when you go to get a girl's number and you're like, "What's your number?" She's like, "No, what's your number? I'll call you." You're like,
Right?
"Okay."
Mm-mm. Yep.
It's never happened to me, but I've heard of friends.
Yeah,
But
I've given out many a fake number over the years.
as have I for credit card applications. Just
Hmm.
kidding.
Hey, now that's on a recording.
I really wanted that Red Sox T-shirt. That's all I got to say. I
Oh,
really.
there you go. Yeah, we definitely used to give out numbers that were not ours
Right?
back in the day. Who knows who they were? But it's the
They
day
send
of
the actual person a credit card, a Red Sox credit card.
yeah, right. I did have one. There was somebody who used to call growing up as a kid. Again, this is before caller ID. They'd call the house and
Yeah.
the woman, I would just chat with them. Oh, you're calling to tell my mom she's not here right now. And I sound young on the phone anyway. So imagine me as a little kid. And she's like, oh, okay, well, can I leave a message? I was like, well, what are you calling about? And I obviously knew it was a spammer. And I said, what kind of shoes are you wearing right now? And then I started giggling and laughed. She called me back and told me. She thought it was funny. Like, I miss those days. That would be
I do
fun. The
too.
prank call, the harassing,
I had a
without
dirty
the
link.
caller idea.
Yes. See, we got full of business ideas here. This is like the
Hmm.
idea podcast now. I love it. Um, I had someone where this profile like wanted to connect with me on LinkedIn and kind of discerning, but in the end, like I don't want to be mean if someone like read my book or something, but really put a message in there, people. I do it. Um, and it's I'm like, okay, I connected with her. The next day, I get an email from what turns out to be her husband, and it was spam. And I was like, what the? And I recognized the last name, and I looked, and they're in the same. I'm like, you guys, it's so dirty. Like you just connected, so you can get my information, and you can spam me the next day. So I called the number and talked. And I gotta say, I usually avoid drama, but it was one of the most awkward conversations I've ever had with someone where I'm like, yeah, so you called me. Yeah, don't do that. It's like, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's terrible. It's really bad. And it was just, I don't know. I made it really kind of dark. I didn't end it with like, well, have a nice day or hope this gets better. It was like, no, you're in the penalty box. Don't do this for
Yeah.
the sake of humanity. This is how we lose our cookies. This is how marketing loses cookies and all of our privacy with GDPR because of some dummy that's in there just spamming people for no reason.
This is why our jobs are hard. Like, and
Yeah,
again, we don't have to go down that road because
because
I'm
the
sure.
amateurs.
Well, and it's just like be better, like be
Yeah,
real,
be
be
better.
better, be smart about it. Like, don't be a fool. We all make mistakes. It happens. We've all made poor. I've sent out emails to 40,000 people with a typo in it. It's happened.
Yep.
Then
But
you
I
send,
think to your point though, the transparency, but also like if it's you're trying to help, you're actually trying to help people, and that can be the range of if that's actually helpful or not. But if you are being genuine, then that's even a good litmus test. Like, am I being genuine, and is this actually valuable for that person? If so, then okay, send your thing. But if not, don't do it.
yeah. My favorite emails are the ones where people send out mistakes. So, and whether or not they're on purpose, and I've tried
No.
this in campaigns too, but you can tell when they're like, oh shoot, it's 2 minutes later and the link was wrong and it's not working. And you see the email 2 minutes later on a newsletter. Oh, so sorry. Here's the real link. I love those. I always open them just to see how people handle them. They're like,
Now, do you think, have you seen, because the skeptic is like, do you ever try to fake that, or does that kind of hurt your brand reputation for being like,
oh, it depends. I've done it where I faked it.
what
Oh,
happened?
so it was years ago. There was a big email, like our newsletter was going out, and there was a typo in a URL, and the link didn't work. And I just wrote in the subject line, "Oops, dot dot dot," and I sent, "Hey, so sorry. Here's the real link. We made a mistake. Blah blah blah. I'm Jessie, the marketing manager. Blah blah blah." It was the best open rate I've ever had in an email, ever. I was like,
People want to see the car crash. They want to
they
see
want to see the mistakes. Let's use that philosophy moving forward. So it goes back to the idea, like, and I'm sure people have talked about this ad nauseum with you, but like subject lines are to get people to open an email. Once they get into the email, then you need to close them. You need to get them to click.
Hmm,
You need to get them to interact. You need to tell them what to do. But subject lines are to get them to open. So your open rate is only a reflection of your subject line if it's a net new list. Existing clients, it's a whole different ball game, or existing
right.
newsletter and stuff like that. But so those marketing emails, that's how I talk about it with my team. So like, I would push them. I'm like, be creative. Maybe
Yes.
don't put 800 emojis in there. Stay true to your brand. But like,
Right.
we called it the oops email. That was great. Worked.
See, now, and I can see you pulling that off. The only thing I can't pull it off because if my team, we're supposed to send emails out for our clients.
You can't do that.
No, because it's like, oh, we're not hiring you guys. You guys can't.
No,
You're gonna send oops out on my behalf too. So can't pull that one off.
no.
But
This was this
one
was
day I'll have a situation and I'll pull a Jesse
pulled
on
it.
them.
Oh geez, call it an oops email. I mean, I don't recommend it for all your campaigns, but even with like, if you're using like a sales loft or an outreach or,
Right.
sales SDR type campaigns, those can be creatively positioned too for the oops concept.
How
Again,
many? How much is too much though? Right. Every
well,
email you have has an oops to it.
no.
Like
So
what?
I would say once in the campaign, make sure it's a net new contact so you don't make that mistake again. It's like great example of it is like, I used to wait tables, you know, in
Mm,
my 20s in an Italian restaurant. And I went from being a hostess to waiting tables. And so
sure.
one of the people who trained me was like, okay, you're new. In your first month, leverage the idea, because you got paid more based off how much you made on the check. The tip was higher, so on and so forth. So we were like, okay, upsell appetizers, upsell drinks, upsell, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So one of the tips that I was given is, okay, tell people you're new. They'll tip you more. I was like, really? She's like, try it, see what happens. I was like, okay. Hi, my name is Jessie. I'll be your server tonight, blah, blah, blah. I just want to let you know it's my first, it's my first week or my first night, waiting tables. I did great. Then about a month in of doing this, I had repeat clients and I didn't recognize. And I pulled it again. She's like, yeah, we know. You told us last week when we were here. I was like, oh, oops.
Oh,
I was like,
snap.
guess I can't do that anymore. So yeah, so there's a point of diminishing return.
Oh, that's risky, but I guess
Hey man, it worked.
it worked.
Yeah.
I wonder how
There's
you leverage that in email.
so many sneaky ways,
Yeah.
but
Again, if it's to get some helpful information to people, I don't mind tricking people if what you're trying to trick them to do is like fix their problems and
yeah.
and change their life. Like, great. Whatever we can do to get you into making a change. I guess you got to use that power responsibly, really.
Well, and it's like having a cute 404 page on your website is another
Yeah.
example. So like, cute is one thing, but thinking about putting useful content on there to redirect them to the place they might be trying to go.
Yeah.
We change our web properties, landing pages. And I'm sure you guys deal with this. Campaigns are coming and going, content's changing constantly. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot more 404 pages that we have to worry about, especially with things being virtual. So having a you know, cute and productive 404 page can make a big difference. Oh, sorry, you
Mhm.
landed here. Here's a couple places you might want to go next. If you're having trouble, here's our email address.
Right. Yeah, just kind of thinking about that overall experience people have.
Mhm.
Where do you see all this going? Coming in the future? Like what's changing? Things are changing. Do you have any sort of like forecasts? Do you have any premonitions about the future?
I wish I knew. I think that's part of the challenge right now. I get asked that a lot, as more so than I ever have in my entire career, especially as a
Hey, you told me this
consultant.
was your first podcast. I was kidding.
You're funny.
This is my
Um,
first. This is my first podcast, Casey.
the first time, no, I don't get asked it a lot on podcasts. This is my first podcast in a while. Does that count?
Sure.
Um, but even from clients, like what's next? What should we be planning for? What should we be worrying about? When I'm pitching my services and stuff like that too, they
Yeah.
want to hear your philosophy. And I think I think in marketing, it's changing. It's an interesting animal. I don't think we're gonna, there's a lot of technology out there. I know, AI is always up and coming. I come from an intent data space, so that one's always coming. I think your online profile and how you're tracked online is going to be very interesting to watch the way that works. I think from a digital perspective and from a legal perspective.
Mm,
So with GDPR and how your privacy and the information, I think it's going to get more complex and really cool and really hard on a lot of levels. So
right.
I think that's something that we need to keep in mind, how we present ourselves, what we're putting out there. It's interesting, even from an advertising perspective, especially, thinking about sports leaving television, that how does that decimate the advertising market, if there's no Super Bowl this year? So how, advertisers
Yeah.
need to get more creative and how they're approaching and gaining visibility, thank God for golf. But, but seriously, so it'll be interesting to see even a lot of,
So true.
but B2B companies advertise. I mean, who's the guy? Is it Work? It's Work somebody. I can picture their logo, but I don't remember who they sponsor. It's one of the PGA golfers. Is it Workfront? Oh God.
Is it like work day maybe?
Oh yes, it is Workday. Thank you.
I know everything.
And they sponsor somebody big, and of course I can't remember who it is. But either way, like people getting more creative with that. And I think like even in my own household, I was researching. We haven't talked about it yet, but I love food. I love to cook, so I'm always on
Mm,
recipe websites. And
yeah.
my husband was like, "Why were you reading about blah blah blah?" I was like, "How do you know that?" He's like, "Because I'm getting ads for it." I'm like, but you weren't on, like, how are you getting ads for something so niche and specific? Like, I was researching different types of flowers or something crazy like that, you know, and I was on some sort of flower vendor website and I was trying to figure out how to make oat flour. There you go. Very transparent. And like, he's like, why are you on, like, I'm getting digital ads for that. And I was like, that's so creepy, but so awesome at the same time,
Right.
that we can get so targeted to like being within the same, you know, this IP address in my house is the same, you
Right.
know? So they're targeting, obviously they've made the right decision in terms of targeting my IP address, you know, because we're
Right.
both here. So it's just going to be so cool. I like can't wait to see what we come out with. Like it's just going to be awesome from that
Yeah, I think
perspective.
people get all creepy on it, but
Oh,
what they
I
don't
love it.
realize, yeah, I think from the marketing standpoint, they don't realize is it's actually way better. Like, how many times have you seen a television ad that just doesn't apply to you because it's like some other demographic, and you're like, that was a terrible ad, or it just burns in your soul. Like, I don't want to see another Audi commercial, to be honest. Insert random car commercial driving across the hills. I'm not buying your car. I drive Jeeps. That's what I do. Like, show me Jeeps driving around, okay?
Yeah,
Please don't
totally.
show me your little bot. If I'm gonna get something like that, I'm gonna get a Tesla, okay? Tesla, you can advertise, and Jeep, you can advertise. Everyone else, you are blocked, okay? I don't want another car commercial. Put something else in its place, and then I'll like watch your commercials. I want to see what's going on,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm trying to
Yeah,
think of a brand. Because I'm definitely, again, outside of the industry that I'm in, even like my mom will call and be like, I'm getting all these weird advertisements. I was like, wouldn't you rather see stuff that's relevant to you? Like, you
right.
know, like I have a rescue dog. And so I have purchased beds for her. I
Yeah,
say that as plural because I'm a crazy person. Um,
sure.
Off of Facebook advertising. It's some of the greatest beds I've ever purchased for her. You know, she loves them. So that's why I bought more. Like,
Yeah,
I would never have known about this product otherwise. It's great. They give me discounts. I can look them up. You know, Instagram advertising is another, you know, Instagram is
oh,
gargantuan right now. It's crazy.
but their
Um,
ads are they fit. I bought one time. I bought two things in a short period of time, and I almost bought a third. And I was like, "Whoa, put the phone down. You don't need that third thing." But why would I want it? You know, like, no. Somehow they figured me out, and
yeah,
it was great. They show me stuff that now they're a little wacky, but for a while they were zeroed in on me, and I was like, "I would buy that. I will buy that.
totally,
Bought that." Yeah.
totally. I love how they're able to kind of I love the social ads because you can see the commentary on them. So
Hmm.
it's like, you know,
Yes.
again, B2C wise. So like a great example for me is like I've decided we're going to talk about makeup. Sorry, I know that's not an area for
Cool.
everybody. But I've, you know, household products as well. Like we've gone cruelty free. So I do a ton of research in my house to figure out what products, you know, shampoo, body wash, makeup, all that stuff to make sure that the companies are good companies that actually
Hmm.
are cruelty free. Because in if they're selling products in China, part of the law in China is that you have to do testing on animals. So there's some companies who still sell in China even though they claim they're cruelty free. I'm not here to bash them. That's just the way that it is. But I do a ton of research on it. So there's blogs that I check. You know, if I'm going to buy a new product or something like that, I want to make sure I'm getting something good. I want to make sure that I'm getting something. You know, I care less about the chemicals. To be honest with you, I care more that you're not like trying my cleaning product on bunnies. Um.
Yeah.
So
What a buzzkill, huh?
yeah, right. Sorry. But
Feeling
it's
sexy tonight? You should. We've tried this on
yeah,
30 bunnies.
my bunny code lived through it.
Yeah.
So, but the idea of like these companies, they can post an ad on, you know, on Instagram or even on Facebook, and you can see the people commenting, oh, this is a great product. Oh, I've used this. Or, oh, they actually have really ridiculously high shipping charges. I'll give you another example. My cell phone case here is by a company called Pella. I bought them off of Facebook, Pela. I will give them a promo in your thing if you can delete this if you want later.
No, that's
But
cool.
it's compostable phone cases. My
Ah,
AirPod case is also by them. They,
sweet.
you know, but you can see the commentary. Oh, this is a great product. Oh, I ordered it. Who, you know, like Amazon, I'm sure they're paying for some of these reviews because that's another marketing tactic in there. But there's got to be some sort of probability, Stacey. There's some sort of level of real people in here
Right.
commenting saying good things and, you know, have experienced that. And so,
Sure.
like, I've bought a couple of these. I think they're great. You know, they're it's got a little penguin on it. You can't see
Oh, look at
underneath.
that.
you know, my husband has one with a polar bear on
So
it.
that's biodegradable?
Yeah, compostable.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. Yes, trying
Yeah,
to save
the
it.
commenting on ads gives you a little freedom. I've
Hmm.
seen some dumb ads, and I've seen some ads making terrible claims. And what's cool is now I go to the comments just to see people burn them in the comments. Like,
Totally.
yeah, really? Is this what you're doing here? Is that what you're doing? And then one time there was this ad about like cold water submersion or something, or he's gonna make you super this and super these days. And then I'm commenting like, yeah, this reads like an infomercial, and somebody else is reading. It can be kind of fun, almost like YouTube video comments, to be able to
Yes.
see people can be very funny and very creative and a little mean at the same time. But for a bad ad, I think it's like all fair and game.
Well, and it gives you immediate feedback too as a marketer.
Yeah,
Again, this
yeah.
is I have a friend I was doing some marketing. He wrote a horror novel, and so trying to do social media ads to promote a book marketing is a whole can of worms. I'm never
Oh
doing it
yeah.
again. It's super competitive, like blah blah blah. But in the short term, I did it because I was like, can I try it? Let me see what happens. And like one of the ads that we posted, it's a horror novel, so there's guidelines, community guidelines around visuals that you can use. So I don't have like skeletons and pirates or anything like creepy in it. I did have a guy that's like, it's a dark picture and he's like had hands on a face, and it was like a little bit like creepy. Somebody
Mm,
reported it. I was like, look at how well this ad is doing, and you're reporting that this is creepy. Like, come on, man. Like, I've seen scantily clad people in various ads that you're
right.
letting go, and this is what you're like, this is a stock image that I downloaded for free off of Unsplash. Like, seriously? Come on, man. So this is G-rated horror, but the
Right.
comments on it were great. Like that was the best part. Oh, this book is great. Oh, where do I get a copy? Stuff like that.
Wow.
Like it was really fun.
Getting feedback on your ads is like money.
Immediately. Yeah, it was
Well,
fun.
who are you? Like, this has been a lot of fun. I'm having a good time. But like, who are you? How did you always know you're gonna be a marketer? Can you take me back in time, like little Jessie days? Like, what was it like growing up? And
Little Jessie. Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. So, as a kid, my mom always likes to say, my parents, I would say, like to say that I went from crawling to running. So like I've always been a little bit of a crazy person. They used to call me as a little kid, Dr. Destructo, because I would leave a wake. I am not the cleanest person on the planet. I mean, I wash myself regularly. I mean, like
Thank you. Thank you for
items
sharing
within my
that.
house, there's
That's good.
laundry out. So I'm a messy person, but the idea of like we'd be playing with blocks or something, and I'd come by and be like, knock it down. Like I love destroying things apparently.
Sure.
So there you go. The
Especially
vegan,
terrible marketing strategies.
yeah, certainly. That's a big one. Um, yeah, but I'm a lot nicer about it now.
Right. Right.
So, so it's one of the things though, but I've always been a creative person. I've always been one of those. I'm very lucky to be I've known who I am,
Mm,
so that allow, and I'm aware of it. So like versus I'm always jealous of those people who woke up one day and they're like, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be
I
a
know.
teacher. I'm like, well, I know what I'm not. I know who I am.
Right.
So, but that comes with like a package of creativity goes with it, and again, I was at my parents' house this weekend, so I have a lot of mom stories today. She had reminded me, like, I I loved like my science teacher, for example, biology in particular, she reminded me, she's like, you used to hand in the most beautifully designed reports that they were a pain in the butt to get done with you because you couldn't you just didn't care about the biology of it. So it's not like
Mm-hmm.
I'm smart enough to not figure it out, although I'm terrible at math. I could understand it and pay attention,
Right.
like put together a great story, but I cared about like what it looked like and how it was packaged and how it was put together. And they always wanted to like save them and use them for other students. I was like, interesting. So I was like, oh, that's funny. I don't remember doing that. But I do remember building a lot of like dioramas that I would spend hours like building and creating,
Wow.
and so the creativity, the art piece of it has always been something very prominent in my life.
Because you went to school for art, right?
Yeah, I have a BS in studio art.
It's a science degree. It's interesting.
A bachelor of science, yeah. So because you have to spend a certain number of hours, it's not like you have like a thesis. You have a thesis project that you produce. It isn't like
Yeah.
you're doing like a big paper, and it was like a big art show that you have. And so I ended up doing, I did a lot of ceramics, photography, sculpture stuff.
Wow.
So um, that was my final project was a combination. It was like a big tower, and I had 8 roommates my senior year in college. We lived in a big house. It was not a sorority. It was 3 apartments. But I did photography has been something that's been very big in my life. I had a wet darkroom growing up. I love
No
taking pictures.
kidding.
Yeah, I don't do it professionally. I've tried. I've done weddings. I've done portraits. I've done all that stuff. And I'm like, it's like the one thing I get really sensitive about, and I can't quite take the criticism. You can criticize me in anything else,
Because it's
but
your
like,
art, man.
it's like a different animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, we're not doing this anymore to get paid. Um, but it was just it was like fun. So I ended up building these sculptures of these like really fat, I call them the fat ladies. They were like these really fat women, sculptures. And then I had this tower and beautiful pictures of my roommates, and I was like, all right, sure, here's a final thesis. It was some statement on women and power and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool. But I love building things. I love doing things with my hand. Maybe that's where the cooking comes into play too. I'm I'm not a clean chef. Cook.
Yeah, but again, that's, I said at the very beginning, just sometimes the magic comes from giving yourself the permission to just go with the crazies, and like when you come up with different things from that. Um,
Totally.
Hypothetical question for you. If you can go
Yeah.
back in time and
Yeah.
talk to yourself, like right after graduating, you got the art degree,
Oh yeah.
and a couple days afterward, and if you could go talk to that version of Jessie and talk to her and give her advice, what kind of things would you say?
Um. So I feel like the first thing that I would say, knowing what I know now, is like take a year off. Like don't go to work right away. Go explore. I am. Oh, now to get super meta on you, I'm Sagittarius, so I'm a little bit nuts, but I have this Libra side of me too, so I'm very balanced. So it's a struggle, to be able to say, okay, let's be responsible and real with really what we're doing and how do I get to where my goals want to be.
Mm,
But I also I just want to go do stuff, like I want to go see things. I want to go.
right.
End of sentence. Like, let's go. Okay, let's go. Um, so a great example of that, like on Saturday, for example, a friend and I had a plan to go to the beach. We went to 6. We were on
6
the Cape.
beaches?
Yep, we crisscrossed. We were like, oh, we've been here a couple hours. Let's go to another beach. Okay, let's go. Like just so that's like a great example. And
So you get
she's
the
like,
blanket all laid out, you get the little umbrella
we
stuck
brought
in
chairs. I mean, I
okay.
am like see-through, so it's not like I tan. So
Sure.
we drove around the Cape. Like she's like, I have a list of beaches. I was like, let's go check them out. She's like, really? I was like, sure, why not? What else are we doing?
Right.
You know? So I think that's what I would tell myself, like go
Go.
experience. And I would also tell myself it's okay to ask questions. I think early in my career there was a hesitancy for that. And every jump in my career that I've made is to answer a curiosity. And um, I was fortunate to be at a company. I was at Vistaprint for 4 years. It was the couple years before they went public, a couple years after, within a couple different departments, hyper growth there.
Yeah.
Um, like the amount of experience I gained from that job was absolutely incredible. And it was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had because of the hyper growth. And because I was so young, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Had 11 bosses in 4 years.
Jeez.
And I was terrified to ask questions because it was so new and changing. We were terrified we were going to get fired constantly.
Really?
So, yeah, it was a really interesting experience. And so I've taken that throughout my career and said, I never want to put somebody in that position.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vistaprint is great. I would highly recommend checking them out. This is not a bash on the way. They just went through hypergrowth. And
Yeah.
I was growing pains. I have friends, my husband even worked there for a little while. So it's every step. That's what I would say to myself back then is like, I went back to grad school while I worked at Vistaprint because I had questions and I needed to be able to ask them.
Yeah.
Circa 2008, the economy tanked, and that's a whole nother story for another day. But that was it's okay. Questions are okay, but there's
Mhm.
also a point of diminishing returns with the question. So, as a leader and as somebody, I love mentoring. I love having a team to work with. I love just being in a position of being able to teach. I am not someone who is, I actually was offered a position recently to be able to teach some marketing classes at Emerson, and I turned them down because I was like, I don't have the patience. I'm not going to be able to do the best job at this. I know myself, as I'm building a company and I'm trying to network, and like, I've only, I'm trying this. I need to be true to trying this thing. In a couple of years, I may go back to it and say, hey,
remember me? Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why I built the relationship. They had a pinch hit for marketing, it was like a marketing 101 course, which would have been awesome. So, but I just say to myself, like, just be okay asking questions, but also make sure you do your due diligence first. Make it easy for me to answer your question as a, on the flip side of that. That's what I would say to myself.
Crazy.
And eat more apples.
Eat more apples?
Less donuts, more apples.
Less donuts, more apples. Yeah. Yeah, I heard an interview with the guy who founded the Spartan race, and some guy came to his farm out in Vermont to lose some weight. He's like, cool. All you're gonna eat, you got to detox. He's all you're gonna eat for a week is apples. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, here you go. He gave him like a bushel of them, or like a barrel full of apples. He's like, you can have as many as you want, but that's all you're gonna eat for the next week.
Oh my God, they didn't give him any protein?
No, just apples.
Ooh, that's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, but you know what? You get sick of apples. You don't really want to eat them anymore.
That's true, I guess. That's true. An apple a day. There you go.
Apple a day. There it is.
And a scoop of peanut butter.
Where can people connect with you?
Oh my God, I'm on the internet. If you Google me, I come up. So the best place is LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm on the Twitter. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on the Instagram and a couple other ways. Do you want a sneak announcement that we haven't told anybody yet, but I can share it here? So one of my best friends lives in Texas. She's in Austin, Texas, and we both have a passion for tacos. Here is a little weird. And so
I like tacos.
About COVID, and we were trying to come up with something creative. She's also a marketer, product. She builds cool things, and I market cool things. So I said, what if we started an Instagram account? Because I've been eating a lot of tacos right now. I've been eating really clean. And so tacos is an easy food because corn tortillas, blah, blah, blah. I could share the nutrition with you if you wanted me to. Anyway, so I eat a lot of tacos, eggs, tofu, chicken, whatever. And I went to visit her late last year, and we had Taco Tuesday. And she's like, I was like, what if we let's see what domain names are available. So we ended up starting an Instagram account called Lotso Tacos, LOTSO Tacos. And we're just posting tacos, and we're going to start a web page. We've been tagging some of our favorite restaurants and vendors. I think today I posted my breakfast tacos, tagged Frank's Red Hot on it. Just because it's a passion project. And so eventually we're hoping to grow the audience to be able to get sponsorships. Isn't that everybody's plan of attack these days?
Right.
Purely dedicated to tacos. So if you're interested, check it out. It's in its infancy. Lots of tacos.
Lotso Tacos. I love it. Yep. And, if you're not already hungry by now listening to this episode, maybe a little bit of talk about tacos. Maybe will encourage you. I don't know if that's good to connect this podcast with food, but if it works, go with it.
Yep. So Instagram, they can connect with me. If you Google Jessie Coan, I own all of my names. So jessiecoanmarketing.com, Facebook, all that fun stuff. So
awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good deal.
I'm a real person.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I feel like we can hang out all day.
I know, we need some
we only have so much time in the day, but let's do another one of these things later on and just catch up and all the million other things we should talk about.
Certainly. Well, this was great. Thank you so much for having me, Casey.
For sure. And people listening, if you learned something and had a freaking blast, I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back. then share this with someone. Be a thought leader. That's all you have to do is put some of your takeaways. Drop them in LinkedIn, tag myself, tag Jessie. We'll hop in there, comment too, and then link to the
If you disagree with us, let us know.
If you disagree,
I would love it. Write me. I mean, not really, but disagree. Yeah. Let's have a conversation.
Except you've got a mace, but if you promise not to use it, people can
I mean, he's little. He's not that big. He's 2.5 feet maybe.
It looks gigantic on the screen here.
I mean, if you look at it against my arm, there you go.
You got long arms.
No, I'm 5'7". They're not that long. You're crazy.
I am crazy. Well,
You're
thanks
funny.
again, man. This is fun. It's great hanging out with you.
You too, my friend.
All right, everybody.
Stay safe.
That's right. Stay safe, stay dangerous. And this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We'll catch you all next time.